Let me tell you about what I think one of the biggest problems is. Sure, I will always lay the blame at the feet of the perpetrator. If a woman is wearing, she's scantily clad clothing and walks through an alley and someone attacks her, she was not asking for it. The perpetrator, the criminal, is who should be punished, who should be blamed, etc. But there is personal responsibility involved. You need to be aware of your own surroundings. You need to take some responsibility. So I don't think it's a one-for-one, like when the left says, people should be allowed to be drunkenly wandering around. Like, I'm not going to go to an ATM at 3 a.m. All right. So I'll blame the gun control left and many of these Democrats in these big cities who push for these things. And now I'm going to lay some blame at the feet of conservatives who refuse to fight back. We had this story. St. Louis gun-waving couple plead guilty to misdemeanor charges. Part of their plea is that they will be giving up their weapons. They say Mark and Patricia McCloskey, who waved guns at protesters last year who marched past their home, pleaded guilty Thursday to misdemeanors and agreed to give up their weapons. Mark McCloskey will pay a $750 fine after pleading guilty to fourth-degree assault, a Class C misdemeanor. Patricia, 62, must pay a $2,000 fine after pleading guilty to second-degree harassment, a Class A misdemeanor. Mark McCloskey could have faced up to 15 days in jail. Patricia could have spent up to a year behind bars. Neither will face jail time. Do not vote for these people. Isn't the guy running for office or something?
He's running for U.S. Senate, and he just tweeted, "Don't worry, I have more guns to protect my family," where that came from. Hashtag 2A.
Do not vote for this man. He is a spineless coward. I wouldn't.
Wait, why is he spineless?
When the cops came to take his guns away, he took a picture of them from behind and said, "I don't want anyone to think bad of these cops who are confiscating our weapons."
I didn't know that.
That's right.
Oh, holy crap.
Now he's dropping to his knees, scared of the state coming for him, giving up his weapons. But I have more. I don't care. Dude, get out of here. Should have fought the legal battle. You cannot.
Come on. You can't advise someone to be a martyr. Would you? I would not feel comfortable taking on the state when there's this whole public frothing at the mouth mob. I'm being made into a political victim.
I'd do it.
Maybe you would, but I don't think he's a coward for being like, I got a family, they've got me dead to rights because they can write the law whatever they want, and it's going to cost me millions of dollars, and the government can tax me to pay for them. I can't win.
I think he's a coward.
His comments are interesting, and I think they provide us context here. He said, quote, on his Twitter account, I'm bringing this from his account, quote, "Let me be clear, I am not surrendering any of my firearms. I will continue to be one of the strongest advocates for the Second Amendment and around the country. The two weapons that were seized from me were evidence in a criminal case. Per the state of MO, they are to be incinerated." So this is what the state... Yeah.
No,
so that doesn't make any sense.
The state is incinerating his weapons, but he gets to have other weapons.
If something's evidence, you return it to the person or you keep it, possibly.
But I guess this was a part of their plea deal.
But why would they...
It's like a circus. It's like they're doing this to entertain the masses. They're like, look what we did. Do you like this sound?
When the cops came, they took a photo of the cops taking their guns, but from behind, and said, "We don't want to reveal the identities of the officers because we don't want people coming after them," whatever. And I was like, that's pathetic. The cops could have said no. The cops could have said, "We do not agree with this, and we will not enforce unjust laws." These Black Lives Matter individuals broke onto private property. And we even saw, what was it, the AG of Missouri say that they may as well have been in their living room. It was a private lot. It was a private property. The whole block was privately owned. They could have defended themselves. Now, don't get me wrong. I think them coming out and her like waving the gun was very dumb. I'm not a fan of that either. But they
could have been very scared. We don't know what that's like.
She didn't have good trigger discipline at all as well, and she was literally having her finger on the trigger, pointing the gun at her husband's head.
Well, and there was also they said the firing pin was reversed and the gun was inoperable. There
was two guns.
Right. There was the AR-15
and what looked like a revolver.
Now, no, it wasn't a revolver. I don't remember what it was, but it
was a small handgun.
They claimed that the firing pin was reversed and the gun was inoperable. When it was brought into the DA for evidence, they disassembled and reassembled it and then said, "Oh, it works." Mm-hmm. So a lot of people were coming out and saying the state altered the evidence to claim it was a functioning device. When the McCloskey said they had used it in a criminal trial before as evidence, and so the firing pin was reversed. Maybe they're lying. Maybe they went inside and immediately took it apart and did it. I'm not going to accuse them of that, and I don't think the state has evidence they did that. They just claimed that, well, upon taking it apart and putting it back together, we found it was functional. These people should have absolutely said no. They should have said, "I will see you in court." If no one will stand up to the system will always win. Always.
I completely disagree with you. I think when you don't know someone's personal circumstances, it's really easy to tell them fight. But this is the state. I'm sorry. I think at a certain point, some people like discretion is a better form of valor. And I would love, me of all people, for F's sake, would love it if more people defied the state and stood up to it. But at a certain point, you're like, okay, look at Duncan Lemp. What happened with him?
Yeah.
Like they killed him at 3 a.m. through the window, and they dragged his pregnant girlfriend through the broken glass and bloodied her up.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that it's impossible that the next time that they're going to make sure Antifa goes by his house and the cops are just going to take 911, put it on, take the phone off the hook, and let nature take its course?
What do you mean?
Meaning,
right.
this kind of things happen all the time. When someone is an enemy to the state, they look the other way
Yeah.
and make sure that person gets taken care of.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I
when you're
think-
saying, like, you should fight the state, you're asking them to really take their life into their own hands. Now, I can understand how someone would do that, but it's also really easy for me to choose to understand if someone would want to not do that.
Do you know what would happen if right now in Chicago, every single person facing trial, facing an indictment or a criminal charge, asked for a jury trial?
They would get charged with higher charges.
Not true. If in Chicago, every single person awaiting an arraignment or whatever, charged with a crime, said jury trial, they would all instantly be dismissed. Chicago, you think...
I don't understand that. Explain that
because
to me.
the city doesn't have the capability to handle that many trials at once.
So wait. Okay, here's the two. I don't agree with you, because what happens is when places don't have resources, they're just going to keep you in jail longer.
Yeah. I know
Perhaps.
friends who have been in
Not
jail
perhaps.
for so long because of the COVID regulations, and even COVID has stopped the court proceedings. And what they did is just keep people in jail longer.
So
Wait,
I'll tell you.
I gotta ask you this. You're saying that if everyone who is arrested right now in Chicago said, "I demand a jury trial," the Chicago legal system's gonna be like, "We can't do this, so you're all going home"?
Most of them probably would be dismissed, yes. So when I ended up getting charged with, I think, a Class C misdemeanor, my brother got a Class A. They
Is A the worst or the easiest?
Actually, I don't know if A is the worst. I think
Okay,
I think it was a B.
Okay.
I was facing 30 days. My brother was facing 6 months.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 6 months of going to trial because, long story short, some security guards at a mall falsely accused us, and when they realized that they got the wrong guys in a shoplifting, they thought someone was shoplifting. They just lied to the cops. The cops just said whatever you say and arrested us and charged us with like assault and disorderly conduct. They said they will give us the maximum penalty. They said you will plead guilty and you will take what we give you. And at first, what happened was.
Wow.
My brother, fearing 6 months, said, I'll just plead guilty. What will you have me do? He said, we're going to give you community service. And then I said, 30 days? I'll go to trial. This will be fun. When the prosecutor heard that I said I wanted to go to trial over a slap on the wrist, they would have given me community service. She audibly screamed in the courtroom, shocked. What? And then the judge had to tell her to chill out. Our lawyer walks back over to us, and and my brother is like, why is she yelling? What happened? Well, when she found out that he's like, to me, being charged with like a slap on the wrist level crime, wanted a jury trial. Do you understand how much work that is for them? So she's kind of mad.
Yeah.
My brother goes, F her. I'm going to, I want a trial now too. And he goes, you're sure? And he goes, yep, jury trial. And he goes, okay. He walks back over and we see him go up to the prosecution and the judge, and we hear her scream again.
Wow.
And the judge starts saying, calm down. And then they talk for a little bit. Our lawyer walks back over to us and says, the judge wants to see you in his chambers. And the judge said, what is going on? And we said, here's what happened. And he goes, here's what's going to happen. I don't want to hear any lawsuits. I want this all to go away. The charges are being dismissed. You're free to go. Is that it? And we were like, yes, Your Honor. He goes, have a nice day. We asked the lawyer what happened. And the judge, when he found out that my brother changed his mind and wanted a jury trial on a slap on the wrist charge, it would get court supervision and community service. Nothing, right? When the judge heard that, and he said to the lawyer, why are your clients now trying to get a trial out of this? It's 5 o'clock. We want to go home. Mm. And he went, Your Honor, because they're innocent.
Yeah.
And he went, oh.
Huh.
Case dismissed in my chambers. And then he got up and walked in. The problem is too many people just say, well,
because they're advised to by the public defender.
We were told to by our lawyer.
Yes.
He said, guys, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get community service. It's all going to be over. You're going to go home and play video games, and you don't even got to do anything. Get one of your dad's a firefighter, ask him to sign the papers. You're done.
Here's something.
And I said, no. I want a jury to hear what happened when they accused me of shoplifting, beat the crap out of me and my brother when we did nothing wrong, and I'm going to stand up there with conviction and say, I refuse to be beaten down by lying security guards who use the state because they screwed up. And we won because of it. Too many people are just scared. I would gladly, I know it was just 30 days. They could have been facing a felony, but I would gladly.
And you didn't have families.
And she actually pointed a gun at people.
And she's... No, but
isn't that brandishing?
That's just me, dude.
But
I'm hot-headed.
They're going to make sure that jury is going to be filled with people who saw her brandishing that weapon. Let me just go ahead, Luke.
Well, I'm very happy you brought up Duncan Lamp. But in Missouri, the attorney general was one of the attorney generals influenced and sponsored by George Soros. She had a proverbial hard-on for these people. The police officers at first said, "We're not going to listen to these."
The DA.
The DA in Missouri. Was specifically going after them. Yeah. Police officers at first said that they wouldn't comply, but then officially they complied later on through a little bit of protest. So that's important context here as well. Sorry, go ahead.
And can I give people some legal background?
Yeah.
Speaking hypothetically, because I'm not a lawyer and I'm in a position to discuss this in a legal context, but hypothetically it's a fairy tale. If you happen to be on a grand jury, here's how grand juries work, right? It's going to be like 25 people. They're going to bring you, the DA is going to bring you some evidence, and that evidence is not there to get a conviction. All that evidence has to do is to say, in the eyes of the grand jury, there is enough evidence here to pursue charges. Meaning it's not nothing, it's something. And the joke is that any good DA can get you to indict a ham sandwich. This is basically a formality, maybe the Founding Fathers era, whatever. That said, most people, hypothetically, are tend to be in want of a leader. Like they're in that room, they don't know what's going on. They want to do the right thing. They don't know what that is. The only guidance they're getting is from that junior DA. So they're going to come in and there's going to cop, hypothetically, and say, oh, we found this leafy substance in this guy's house. And now this 18-year-old kid is going to be thrown in jail, possibly with rapists and murderers. His entire life is ambiguous up until he gets charged or not. If you are in that grand jury and you say, hey, guys, there's nothing holding us to return what they call a true bill, which means he's indicted. We can just vote no and ignore the evidence. And someone could say, listen, we're here. We have a responsibility. Do you really want to ruin this kid's life because he had a lot of weed in his house and was probably selling it? Just think about everyone you know who's ever done weed. Do you think they should go to jail? Think about what jail means. Yeah. It's not like I can't go to my job. It's like I'm locked in a little room with people that I know kill children, rape women repeatedly. And what will happen, hypothetically speaking, is that those jurors, now they've been given permission to do the right thing, be like, why am I ruining this kid's life? I know people who smoke weed. I don't think they should be going to jail. Maybe they should be doing the right thing. And that DA will come back and say, how did you guys say? And they'll say, all charges been dropped. And they will not be able to ask you why. And they're just going to be very, very confused because this hasn't happened. But you will have been in a position to save some kid's life. And he will never know who did it or why. But he'll be very grateful, and you can go to sleep that you made the world a better place.
There's also jury nullification.
That is jury nullification.
Well, yeah. So, but you could be on an actual criminal proceeding.
Right.
So in the grand jury, yes. If you are actually sitting on a jury, and they say this guy, had weed or something, and you don't think they should be in prison for it, you can say not guilty.
Right.
And they're like, but the evidence. It's like the cops found it, they presented it, he admitted it was his. Yeah, not guilty.
Yeah. I strongly recommend people look into jury nullification, and whenever you get a jury notice, don't see it as something negative. See it as an opportunity to provide services to the community that could actually help people. And I just want to make a quick correction. The Missouri Attorney General actually filed to dismiss the charges, but it was prosecutor Kim Gardner that was the one that was strongly going after them.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. And I will also add, the governor said that he wanted to pardon the gun-toting couple. Mm-hmm. So what happened to a trial?
And that he would pardon them. He announced that he would pardon and
they should have
drop all the charges
every step of the way. And you know what? This is look. I hear what you're saying, but if the leaders we have are the ones willing to drop the knee to the enemy combatants, then
these aren't leaders. These are just two old people.
Sure.
Yeah.
They're not leaders.
Then there's no cohesive resistance.
There is cohesive resistance. Doesn't have to be unanimous. Tim, I just think it's really, really easy for us to sit here and tell people we've never met what to do. People tell you what you should be doing all the time. I'm sure you don't like it.
I mean, In what context? Though?
Like online, they're like, "Oh, your show should be like this. Your show should be like that, so on and so forth." It's like, you don't know me. Like, thank you for your opinion. So we don't know this couple. We don't know. Maybe she's got some kind of illness. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. I'm just like I said, maybe a little bit more hot-headed. Like I mentioned,
it could be my Soviet blood. So my Soviet DNA is like, once the state has gotten you in the Eye of Sauron, do whatever you can to get out of the Eye of Sauron.
Get out fully as much as you can. My family fled communism in Poland because it was just getting too crazy.
Right. You know? That I understand. The issue I take here is that
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it sounds like you're saying the system works, and just because it worked for you guys, I don't know that it's at all a guarantee that's going to work for these two. And when you're a 63-year-old woman, to go to jail?
The system didn't work for us.
Well, you got off.
It was clear the only reason we did was because the system didn't want to deal with 2 jury trials.
Sure, but the point is...
That's how broken it was.
The point is you managed to get the result that you wanted.
Here's the issue I take with this, for the most part. Certainly, I understand there are circumstances where a strategic retreat makes sense.
Yeah.
It would be dumb if you're like, I'm by myself and there's 500 people in front of me, but I'm charging it anyway.
Yeah.
That's really dumb. They had the support of the right. They had the support of the governor. They had the support of the state AG.
I didn't know that.
They could have won this. They could have been convicted, and then the governor could have made a statement saying, I refuse to allow this in my state. Unconditional pardon. He could have done it. For whatever reason, they had no faith. So they decided just to get out with what they could, give their weapons up,
I would not put my freedom in the hands of a governor, no matter what he said publicly at any time, because that word is worth nothing to me, and he would throw me under the bus in 2 seconds. It would help his reelection.
Yep. Yeah, probably. And I think therein lies a big part of the problem, and the frustration I have is that the left absolutely will do everything in their power to win. Kamala Harris will publicly solicit donations to get criminals and rioters out of prison, and the right can't even rely on their own to support them.
Correct.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
I wanted to point out, I think maybe there is a time and a place to bend the knee when the villain's like, on your knee, and then you go down on your knee and he walks up to you and you're like, yeah, and you do like a giant uppercut.
One of the things I'm talking about
Perhaps.
in my next book, The White Pill, which is a lot about the Soviet Union, is I don't think people in this country, I know people in this country, and I have no doubt Luke and you'll all back me up, are completely oblivious to what the state can do to people to get them to bend the knee. It's not like good cop. Why are you making that face?
We say we're oblivious to it?
I think a lot of Americans are oblivious to it.
Oh, you're saying not us?
Not us. I'm not saying not the
sorry.
people in this room, but I'm saying a lot of Americans, like I had when Castro died, right? And there was all these laudatory obituaries about him, and I'm like, in a way, it's kind of good that you guys have no idea what this is like. That you think like, oh, he's basically like a liberal Democrat or like a Trump figure. Like, you have no clue. And I want a world, in a sense, where people like, I kind of get that hypothetically, but I can't imagine this being reality. So I can appreciate that. So the things that the Soviets did to break these people, they haven't come over here yet. But one of the things they always do, like they'll arrest people on a Friday night and they want them to squeal. They're in jail till Monday. And it's like, I only need to break one of you. And the offer is good for that one person. So who's it going to be? Monday morning, they're banging that door and you can't blame them.
Yeah. My favorite is seeing people wear Che Guevara shirts and understanding that history and context. And you're absolutely right. I had family members that were tortured by the government.
Of course.
Under a communist regime. And when you wake up to that reality, when you speak to your family, when you hear the stories, when so much knowledge is passed on to you, which barely happens. The United States had it too good for too long, and I think now we're finally dealing with a lot of the larger ramifications of what happens when things are too good.
The CIA didn't know how to torture people at Gitmo, so they had to use KGB manuals. We didn't have any background. Yes.
Interesting.
Look this up. Double check that. Maybe I'm talking out of my butt, but just double check me. But I'm 99% sure that's the case.
I suppose the issue I have right now is that there's.
Wait, I gotta say one more thing, Tim. Don't you think it's not? Maybe it's not literal torture. It's not literal torture. But if you're like a senior citizen close to it, and you're in prison over a weekend, that's gonna really do a huge number on you psychologically. Come on.
I mean, I was in jail for a few days for doing journalism and reporting, and it takes a toll on you. You definitely don't want to be in there.
And then to know your wife is somewhere in this building, separated from you, and you like, I hope she's okay, and you know how she is, and she doesn't even know how to hold a gun correctly. That's Tim. That's scary. And trauma makes people make very conflict averse decisions.
I guess.
I think the larger lesson here.
I'm hot-headed.
Yeah. I think
so
the larger.
I can explain it. I've been in conflict situations where my life was at risk, and I've returned to those situations. And perhaps it's because I don't have children, maybe.
Sure.
When I was in Brazil, I went to what's it called? Ciudad do Policia, the city of police, the police city. It's like their big compound. And we had plainclothes cops basically walk up to us, take us in, take our phones, shut them off. They brought us into this back area, into this closed, no window with a couch. Yeah. And the first thing I did as soon as they started taking us, before they took our phones, was I texted, as was when I was at Vice, like, we're being taken by Brazilian secret police or something, undercovers. And I don't know where they're bringing us, but just so you know, here we are.
Yeah.
Then they took our phones, shut them off. They brought us in this back room, and I started laughing. I was like, so this is where we get beaten up and tortured? And they held us there, started interrogating us. And then after about like a half an hour, someone ran in, panicked in Portuguese, and they brought us back out and apologized. So, experiencing that, and then not the end of the world, but certainly being brought through this complex and then being brought into this back room, not knowing what to expect or where they were bringing us. And also, I've also ridden vehicles with, I don't know how to describe individuals, violent extremists and revolutionaries armed with guns, threatening death.
I was at Charlottesville. I know what you're talking about. This stuff gets scary really quick.
But I returned to those places.
Okay.
Not the same specific ones that have actually spoken out against, but like experiencing Venezuela, where I was accused of being a spy and forced to flee the country, and then having the Venezuelan someone hack my friend's Facebook to send me fake messages to get me to make phone calls, then to just go back into Thailand. I understand, like, I'm not going to return to Venezuela. I can't.
Sure.
I can't go to Thailand. But I would go initially constantly facing that danger. I'm well aware of what it means to stand up and fight. And I'm well aware that you must plant the trees whose shade you'll never sit beneath if you want a society to grow great. That means, for me personally, strategy is involved, right? So when it comes to censorship on YouTube, one of the biggest criticisms we get is, Tim, why won't you just say it? Right. Well, I'm not going to get the whole show banned,
right?
And our opportunity to speak the truth by saying one thing, but that's why we're building a website. We got to be strategic about it. So I will contend. I don't know everything about the McCloskey situation, and perhaps a strategic retreat made sense.
I'll give one scenario where it would make perfect sense to everybody, which is, what if they have a kid who's like, Mom, I really don't need you to be the face of the gun rights movement. Can we just make this go away? And I want to have a normal family, and I don't want to be famous. That is a perfectly good reason to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to fight this.
I disagree.
But the father's running to be a senator.
Sure, that's who knows. But I'm saying, like, that would be one scenario. Maybe it's not literally them, where I could be like, you know what? I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know. The wife was like, I don't have the fortitude for this.
And she could have individually taken a deal. I just grew up constantly frustrated at the lack of unity, solidarity. How's that for a word? When I would see my friends constantly complain about how they work for a restaurant and it's unfair, they're not getting paid enough. And I'd say, so if you all agree, why don't you all just stop working? And they're like, oh no, I have to. And I'm like, there's 5 of you. You could literally just walk out the front door and stand there and say, we're not going to walk back in the building unless we get another $1 an hour. And they'd say, yes, please get back to work. Well, I can't do that. I'm like, well, then you're not going to get your $1 an hour. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? If people just stood up for themselves, if everyone finally just agreed, we'd be done with it. If people had principle, value, strength, courage, and were willing to make the sacrifices to defend freedom, individual liberties, we would have never have had it at risk in the first place.
It's coordination too. You need all these values along with like some sort of sociological coordination. Yes. Because if you do it one by one, you just whack them all.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
And that's the thing. If everyone in Chicago demanded a jury trial, what I bet would happen, and I think if you thought about this story, you would think this happened too. They would take a very few cases up front, make real examples out of them, charge them with everything that they could, and then ask everyone else, "You sure you want the jury trial?"
And if they said, "Yep,"
I think a lot of those people would break, and I wouldn't blame them for one bit.
The point is, for everyone to stand up and say, I demand a jury trial, would be them standing strong. Assuming the people don't break, they win.
But I don't see any scenario where an entire population acts in concert as pressure increases. It's just a cost.
I agree. Okay. The problem is they don't work together.
Sure.
If the system cannot maintain that many jury trials, barely a fraction of them.
But that's why we have public education, so that these kids are taught from kindergarten, before they can really walk and read, that the authorities are genuinely good people who maybe they get it wrong sometimes, maybe they're not always smart, they're a little ignorant sometimes, but they do want what's best for everyone, that you have to punish some people to save everybody else. They're the good guys. So it's very hard to realize as an adult, when this has been your entire context, that you are a means to an end for these people in law enforcement, that they have certain numbers and quotas they want to meet, that they get off. on getting those convictions, or else this wouldn't be their job, because how could you sleep at night if you're putting away people you even suspect are innocent? So yeah, like it's much more malevolent than, and what they were doing to you and your brother was, you and your lawyer who you had, was another version of good cop, bad cop. Because then you have the lady screaming, and your lawyer could be like, hey, I'm a good guy. I'm just going to get you community service. How can you lose? Look at this crazy lunatic. You don't want to deal with bad cop. I'm good cop. I'm your buddy. And you're like, most people be like, hey, I want to listen to good cop. I'm going to take this deal.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.